blew my mind.
And you blew my mind too.
I want to get our sexting chat up. It was quite bold of me to be sexting you when I was at work. I shouldn't have been. I was being naughty.
Very naughty.
I was being naughty, yeah.
This podcast episode features a candid conversation between myself, Chief, and Moineau, as we delve into the details of a recent, intensely intimate and sensual experience. We'll read out our explicit sexting exchanges and discuss the buildup of sexual tension and anticipation, as well as a thoughtful and deeply relaxing massage and the psychological and physical aspects of our BDSM and DS relationship. We explore themes of edging, teasing, and relaxed intimacy, along with the importance of understanding and meeting each other's needs. So listen in to learn how these practices can enhance your own sex life and deepen your sexual experiences with a partner. This podcast contains frank discussions about sex, kink, and BDSM. If you're a consenting adult who wants to learn more about these topics, then stay tuned.
You're listening to Chief from kinkyevents.co.uk, helping you create the dom-sub dynamic you've always fantasized about.
I've had a few sexy dreams lately. There's definitely a recurring theme. Oh, you should read your side.
My side? All right. Didn't
We
know
might
we were
have-
doing a
We might as well do. I mean, I can try to do your voice.
read-through.
What was
It's
I
like being in
doing to
Hollywood.
you when tied up? That didn't sound like you.
You should do my voice.
You can't do your voice.
Hang on, I've got to get to it. All right, start again. Read through.
I had an interesting dream last night.
Yeah.
It involved me being tied up and you having your way with me. It was hot and a bit thrilling. Didn't really want to wake up from it this morning.
Emoji. Embarrassed face.
Cheeky
man
hand
over
covering
That
mouth
was
face.
from me. That was from you. What made it thrilling? I.e., how was it different to normal?
It was a bit dark and aggressive and I couldn't get away. You had me begging.
Sounds great.
Not sure if for freedom or more. Could have been either.
Both?
I've had a few sexy dreams lately. There's definitely been a recurring theme. Yeah, probably both.
What was I doing when you were tied up?
Torturing me, I'm pretty sure. Tormenting me, teasing me, touching me, and then pulling away so I was writhing in want. Telling me about how you were going to take me in my ass and I'd have no choice but, no choice in the matter with typos.
Touching you where? With my hands?
My nipples, my thighs, with your fingers and lips and teeth.
Teeth? That's a random one.
Just a little bit. Little nibbles. Ghosting across my skin, getting me hypersensitive to the touch.
Yeah, when you sent that to me, I thought, because we were talking about what I was touching, and I was like, I'm touching your teeth. I had this vision of me like hooking my fingers into your mouth, or was I doing it with my tongue, like running it across your teeth? I wasn't sure. That's why I said that's a bit random. I was like, is this a new kink that you haven't told me about?
Did you get it then? Did you
Only just now.
I meant you were nibbling me with your
Well,
teeth.
yeah, I've just
Like
got it now.
nibbling my
I've just got it now. Yeah, I didn't know that.
Oh, that's funny. Anyway.
Sounds very intense and hot. I was thinking about taking your ass last night, as it happens, forcing you.
Oh, yeah? I wonder if I could take it. It's been so long.
I don't think you could.
I would probably need to stop thinking about it. I'm starting to get wet and I'm at work. Yeah, newsflash. This is when I was at work sexting you. And I guess it's because lately I have been having some sexy dreams. And we haven't really seen each other a lot recently. We also haven't had many times to have connection recently. And so I've been getting horny, as one does. And I just felt like that was the day. I was feeling a bit bold and I wanted to have a bit of fun. Also, we had seen each other the night before. And so I was feeling...
You were emboldened.
I was emboldened. I was indeed.
Are we going to read the whole thing out?
Yeah, we might as well.
All right. I said it would hurt, but I don't really care. My cock's needs are more important.
At which point I blushed. And what if I squirm away?
You really think you'd be able to, given how small you are and all my weight on you pinning you down? I think not, especially if your ankles are tied together. You can try, though. Just gives me an excuse to be even rougher with you and teach you not to do it again.
But what if I don't want to? I could scream. Pause. So we know each other very well. And we have consented in the past to sexting like this. We play with non-consent a lot of times in our sexting and with our dirty talk. And it's something that turns both of us on, consensual non-consent. And I want people to be aware as we're reading this out. We could tell by each other's tone that this was appropriate, you know, and that we're both okay to do this. I wouldn't text this to someone without obviously being, without having some sort of discussion about what's okay to sext.
Yes, and if you're listening and this is going to cause you issues, then don't listen anymore. Because
there are some triggering themes in here because we are playing with consensual non-consent.
Yes, CNC. I'd cover your mouth with my hand and tell you to be quiet because it's your role to be a good girl and do as you're told.
I can be a good girl, I think.
We'll see.
Though on the other hand, I've definitely been naughty lately. I've been touching myself.
That's very bad. Seems like a spanking. A hard spanking is in order.
Is it?
Yes. Or some worse corrective action.
Why is touching myself bad?
It's against the rules without permission, as well you know.
Is it wrong when you touch me then?
No, because your body belongs to me and I can do whatever I want to it. And I can help you learn what you like.
If Daddy says so, I guess you know best.
Exactly. I can teach you to do it properly. Better you learn from me than someone random.
Yes, Daddy.
I'll teach you a lesson tonight.
Blushing face.
Make sure you eat something before you get here.
Will do.
Oh, that was it, really?
Yeah, are you coming straight after work? Yeah, that's the plan.
Yeah, then it was logistics.
Oh,
really.
wait, but then also instructions.
Oh, I've just quit away from it.
You said, okay, when you get here, no talking unless there's something urgent you have to say, and you'll call me Daddy. And then I blushed and said, yes, Daddy. And then you also said, buy some snacks. And then you asked me my ETA. And then I said, I have a request. Can I please use the loo before we start so I can prepare myself? And then you said, you'll do as I say. And I said, understood, Daddy. And then you said, ring the bell and wait. Don't let yourself in. But I didn't read that message because I was already at the door. And so then I used my keys and I let myself in.
Yeah.
And that's how last night started for us.
Yeah.
Having kind of been teased the whole day. I mean, that conversation was in the morning. And so then I did get a bit, I was feeling quite squirmy when we were having that conversation. By the end, I was like, ooh.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had to, do work. And then afterwards, I was feeling a little bit of anticipation, perhaps a little bit of anxiety because I don't know what's coming. And I've been quite anxious lately.
I know what's coming.
Yeah. And I was expecting, because I had said, I'd be touching myself and you said that there was a hard punishment or a hard spanking was in order. And so I'm like, shoot, like I'm excited because we haven't had a chance to do this in a while. So it sounds like fun, but I'm like, I didn't know what the night was in store for me. So I was feeling a little bit of anticipation and a little bit of nerves and butterflies and didn't know what was coming. And so then that had me thinking the whole evening as I was heading towards yours, like, oh, what's he going to do?
What did you think I was going to do?
I'm like, I expected that maybe when I entered the house that you might grab me by my hair and pull me into the front room, have me kneel over the sofa. You'd pull down my pants and give me a spanking there before. I figured since we had sexted in the morning and you didn't have anything in your schedule yesterday, so I thought maybe you'd prepare some things because you do that. If you have time to plan ahead, you can get yourselves sorted and figure out what sort of, I don't know, scene elements or whatever, what sort of things you want to happen. Yeah. So I expected that you might have some instruments out ready to go, whether that be in the front room or in the bedroom. But I was expecting a swift punishment, and I was actually worried. I was worried about the neighbors. We have some new neighbors, and I'm like, what if? Oh,
and you can hear through the.
You can hear, yeah. So yeah. I'm like, I always get nervous about the spanks. I'm like, what if they hear the spanks, and what do they think is going on? And that always keeps me. It keeps me a little bit in my head when we are doing like spanking, because I'm always worried. I never want to be discourteous.
I think the same is from the bedroom, though. I think you can hear through the walls. So
hopefully their bedroom's up there.
Yeah, it's the other neighbour that his bedroom's up there.
Well,
It's London, you know.
It's
Everyone lives in.
Yeah, I'm not screaming bloody murder.
I find it a turn on hearing people have sex, but then
I'm
a voyeur. So.
I don't. I'm like, yeah.
Well,
like,
it turns you off.
I
in
don't.
My old flat, I can
hear.
No,
I don't like hearing other people have sex. It really, I'm like, ugh.
Oh, I do.
Yeah. Well,
so I'm like imagining it's like.
I listen. Oh, I mean, I don't listen. When I watch porn, I have it on mute. I can't stand, especially if it's porn stars. Fake. But even if it's amateurs,
if it's someone next door, it's real.
I know. I don't know.
Especially if you know, like you've seen them.
Yeah, I don't want to think about that.
I think that's the difference.
I care less if strangers hear me than if people that I could come across hear me. So in a hotel room, I'm like, yeah, sure.
I'm talking about if I heard my neighbour.
I wouldn't want to hear my neighbour.
Yeah, it depends. If they're like old and wrinkly,
I wouldn't want to hear my neighbour if they're young and attractive. I wouldn't.
I would.
I'd find that disarming. I don't know.
All right, leave a comment.
Yeah.
Do you find hearing your flatmate / neighbour having sex a turn on or not?
Yeah.
If you're attracted to them or not.
So anyway, I was expecting a punishment.
Yes, which I forgot about. But I was kind of thinking, well, the punishment will be teasing you. Yeah. Which is more of a punishment. But so I haven't really done the punishment yet.
Well, I was kind of so spoiler alert, since Chief has spoiled it, I was not punished, or at least I wasn't punished in the way that I had expected. Instead, there was a beautiful night of torment awaiting for me when I walked through the door. And I was thinking afterwards, after last night, like, there's still time in the weekend, you know. Like, yeah, true. The punishment can come later.
It can. So I know. Back to the night. I knew that you'd been at work, obviously, and therefore would want to, shower, because you're going to be gross and sweaty, probably. Yeah. So I'd already planned that into the thing, but you then were texting me like, I need to go to the loo, and I was like, I've already planned that. So I
should have trusted you.
You should have known that I would have planned that.
I know, but I was feeling anxious because my IBS was acting up yesterday. Yeah. And those are things that you can't, like, I was really keen, like, we had been sexting about rough anal. And I had a dream about rough anal.
I had all the toys out for anal.
And I was really keen. And yesterday I thought we'd be good. And then yesterday, mid-afternoon, I was like, great.
Yeah.
And
that's the way it goes.
I can't control my intestines.
About tonight.
I could have been nervous about last night, but I also think it's because I had been eating funny a couple days before. Yeah. Okay. And you can't always have anal when you want anal, unfortunately. No. And that's something that's a realistic.
Yes, and that's a good point, because I get, although technically we have consented to free use, I still bear in mind the fact that I still take your needs into consideration. It's not like if you say, I don't want it tonight, I'm like, well, I don't care. If it was in a role play sense, like, I can tell when there's a genuine concern or when it's like made up concern.
Yeah.
And again, we've known each other for a long time. So if you're new to this, then even if you've been in a dynamic for a while, being a dom is not about always having your own way with someone. You've got to take into account how they're feeling and their things. So part of the reason for making sure that someone has you have a shower, so you feel comfortable, because I knew I was going to go down on you, and I know a lot of women don't feel comfortable, and I don't feel comfortable if someone's giving me a blowjob and I've just, I'm all sweaty and I've just had a full day. So that's why I got you to start outside the bedroom.
Yeah.
And the bathroom's right next to the bedroom, so you had a shower whilst I had set out candles.
Yeah, so
because I wanted it to be a mix of. Oh, you go.
Yes. So I already knew that I wasn't supposed to talk when I entered the house, because he had said that in the day, and so when I did enter the house, took off my shoes, you did give me permission to greet the cat, which I thought was very kind of you, because I did think outside the door, I was like, oh, I can't say hello to the cat because I can't talk. And then you said I could greet the cat. So I greeted the cat, who couldn't care less about me last night. He wasn't interested at all. I was like, okay, thanks. Yeah. And then you led me upstairs, and you had the bedroom door closed. You told me to take off all my clothes, at which point I reminded you that I would like to use the loo because I was feeling uncomfortable. And I was like, if anal's on the table, I need to use the loo. And yes. Then so I got a little swat on the bum for that, because you had already planned it ahead of time. But
you also told me it once.
Yeah.
So you were preempting me forgetting.
I was preempting me being anxious about it.
Yes.
I mean, I was anxious about it, and so I wasn't trusting your response, because you had just said, you hadn't said yes that I could use the loo. You said that that I had to listen to you.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, but this was like I felt like this was like a pressing, like medical. This is a health
emergency
element. Yes. Anyway, so I used the loo, took a shower, and then knocked. I almost entered the door, but the door was closed, and you hadn't had the bedroom door open. And so I was like, oh, actually, I should probably knock. Mm-hmm. And so I knocked at the bedroom door, at which point you opened it. And to my surprise, instead of the spanking bench being out in the middle with all the instruments for whipping, for all the spanking implements out, instead I saw that there's a lovely massage waiting for me. Nice. Then we have a little headrest, a proper massage headrest for the end of the bed, which I highly recommend.
Yeah,
by the way,
it's just the
head bit,
the face pad with a frame that you slide under the mattress. So it's really nice if you don't have a full massage table, but whenever we do normal massages, your face gets squished against the mattress. So you hang your head over the edge of the bed and rest it on this massage headrest. And
it was a birthday gift that I got for you.
Find it on Amazon.
And I actually highly recommend it. And especially if you like to
serve, might be able to put a link to the one we got. Maybe.
Perhaps if you want to serve your partner, if you like to give massages, I would always get frustrated giving you a massage because you would hike up one shoulder to keep your head to the side, obviously. But then it meant that I can't get a proper grip on your spine. Yeah. Everything's out of alignment. So having this little head thing meant like perfect. I'm like, now I can give you massages much more frequently, and I won't be annoyed with how.
I think we've used it once since.
We've used it a few times, and it's really nice. So there were candles set up and everything ready for a massage, which is definitely not the punishment that I was expecting.
No, not a punishment at all.
No, at all. It was actually a really beautiful, blissful massage. It was wonderful.
Well, I thought you'd been at work,
It had been a long week, yeah. It was so touching that I actually was kind of started crying. Like I had tears in my eyes when you were giving me a massage, like halfway through, because it was so sweet and caring and thoughtful of you. And I wasn't expecting it at all. And I could feel the care coming off of you. And I was like, this is when I feel so appreciative to have you as a partner, because you are always thinking about my needs and what I might be needing or wanting. And you're always caring for my health and my well-being. And I was like, actually, he knows me better than I know myself, because at the end of the week, even though I had wanted to connect with you, and so I was trying to goad you into giving me a punishment with the sexting. I was.
Of course you were. I knew.
I know, yeah. But it's because I wanted to connect, and it had been a while. I'm like, oh, this will give us a chance to spend more than a little bit. If we have some sort of if we put a BDSM element into it, we'll have more than just a small.
But you also give me loads of massages, so I felt like you deserve to get.
It was really nice. It was really thoughtful, and it was actually definitely what I needed at the end of the week, rather than a a spanking, which probably would have spiked my anxiety more. Like it would have been good in the short term, but it probably wouldn't have relaxed my body, which was already feeling a little bit stressed.
Yeah, but I also knew that it's easy to orgasm if you're relaxed.
Yeah.
So part of the aim was to make sure you're relaxed, but also to like not make it sexual, because I knew you knew that I was probably going to make it sexual. So the longer I didn't make it sexual, the more the anticipation would build.
And oh my goodness. When I say that, I mean, I've never had a massage like this, obviously, but I've never had a massage like this. It was so good. It was so long, and it was a proper massage.
Full body, yeah.
Full body. But even though when we've given each other massages, usually it does end in a sensual genital massage. And we've done it to each other several times. And this didn't end that way. You were very careful to avoid touching my vulva in the massage.
But I was deliberately getting near it.
You were getting near it, but you were very, very careful to not touch it.
I know.
And I was so relaxed at that point, even though I knew that's what you were doing. I wasn't going to comment or say anything because I was so blissed out that I knew that you were planning something, but I was just going to go with the flow. I was so relaxed into it. And then you told me to turn around and to move
onto your back,
onto my back.
On your front to start.
And I was already so relaxed that I already couldn't really speak. I'm like, yeah, whatever you say. I was putty, absolutely putty. Yeah,
and then because obviously when you're on your back, it's easy to your head, it's easy to the back of your neck. But then I was doing a bit of breast massage as well. You'd mentioned in your sexting the nipples, so I deliberately avoided them for a long time, and I was doing more of the legs, more of the inner thigh. So it was slowly getting more sexual, and then I was sort of doing the breast massage with some light nipple touching, but
so light so that I almost didn't feel it because my breasts are
but
actually
at one point
incredibly
they got hard, and I was
they got hard, but I still couldn't feel them because my breasts are incredibly insensitive. So you skirting your fingers on my breast, I don't actually feel that. It's like almost like dead skin.
Yeah. Whereas for a lot of people, they would super sensitive.
But when you pinch my nipples, then I feel it, and then I actually quite like that sensation because it's the only time that my breasts feel like alive and sensitized. So that you started kind of pressing them a little bit more, and I could feel them. And then
so I think I then I was also, I can't remember if I then got the towel and got the oil off you, but I think before that I kind of mounted you a little bit, and I had box shorts on and I was hard, so I kind of leant up against you so you could feel my cock.
It was actually quite sweet. While I was still on my back and you were by my head, you leant over me and gave me a kiss, which I wasn't expecting. And then you were above me and you gave me some kisses. That's when you started bringing your lips into it. So you basically kissed all the way up and down my body and started teasing me.
Like the neck,
the ears,
the elbow joint,
the
thigh joint,
inner thigh.
Yeah, inner thigh.
And I was starting to get, so that's when the teasing really started.
Yes.
So you started
avoiding
kissing me.
Again, still avoiding your pussy.
Yeah.
But getting starting at the knee on the inner thigh and then kissing slowly towards it and then switching to the other leg, bypassing, blowing on the clit.
Each pass you got closer and closer. Was still avoiding my genitals, and you were hard. I could feel you through your boxer shorts.
Deliberately doing that.
And then you started dirty talk. You started whispering to me before we wiped off the oil. You mentioned something about how I had to be a good girl and let you teach me these things. It was playing into the idea of me being ultra innocent, and then can't say anything, you can't speak, or don't make too much noise, you don't know who will hear.
So wiped off the oil, because otherwise it goes all over that's the only downside with massage. Like the oil goes everywhere and you get on the carpet, it's a nightmare. So because it's not like I have a massage table or a sheet, so it's like just on the normal sheets. So wiped you off, and then you so your head was kind of at the foot of the bed at that point. You span around, so your head was at the top, and then I restrained you using the underbed restraints, which are so great. Like, they're so easy. But so if you don't have any and you're like just getting into rope bondage, they kind of fit under the bed.
By this time, it had already been well over an hour.
Yeah.
And in the time that you were teasing me with your lips kissing up and down my body, little nibbles, I'm feeling your beard prickling on my skin. I had been so relaxed, and then you had started teasing me so slowly that my skin, like, I actually got hypersensitized. And so you were tying me up and doing a little bit of dirty talk, saying like that you had to tie me up for my own good, blah blah blah. But because I had been built up so slowly, I was literally shaking. I was shivering, but it wasn't from like anxiety, and I shiver when I have low blood sugar, but this was not because of that.
And actually, just a reminder, I'd also, although it was like 20 degrees yesterday, I put the temperature. I had a mini heater in the room, because obviously if you're naked, you get warm during a massage, but at the beginning of it, I didn't want you to be cold. And again, like anything, so many little things can block orgasm or inhibit pleasure. Mm-hmm. So temperature, sound, light, these are all elements to consider when you're creating a scene. And heat is, I think, not being cold is probably a big one. Yeah. So yeah, that's why I had this.
And I do get cold having a massage.
Buy it on Amazon. You can get, just one of these air heaters.
I was very comfortably warm.
I was a bit hot. I was a bit sweating, but I know you get colder than me. So I think I had it on 24 to start with, which doesn't sound that hot, but with a heater, it is.
Yeah, and we have the candles going, which are generating a little bit of heat and a little bit of aroma.
Maybe a little bit.
Yeah, it was a very relaxing atmosphere, but I got so sensitive that I was literally shivering as you were putting me in the restraints. And you did, before you tied me down, you gave me some water. I had bought an electrolyte drink, so I drank some drink.
It had been a while.
Yeah, you asked me if I wanted a snack, but I was fine.
Dinner. Well, you might have had something, but not much. Yeah. So I know you get low blood sugar. So I was just, again, making sure that you're okay.
Yeah.
And I think I did your feet as well. So you're like an X.
Yeah. And actually, there was something funny going on with my feet that I couldn't. My eyes were closed. I kept my eyes closed, and I could feel that something felt funny with the restraints on my feet. Not uncomfortable, but it felt they were more firm than usual. One of them, like, it felt like it was on something. And I don't know if it's just because I was feeling like the webbing rope that it's attached to underneath, but I actually found it quite comforting, because it was quite a change in everything feels plush around me, the mattress. But then there was one little piece by my foot that was solid, and it was kind of grounding me in the sensation.
Probably the buckle maybe got under
something.
There. Yeah.
But it was actually quite nice, because otherwise I would have been, at that moment, I was already kind of going out of my body, that little connection around my ankle was tethering me. It was keeping me from getting totally spaced out.
Yeah, and I did have so what was going through my mind, I did have the rope out, and I know you like the sensation of rope, so I was thinking of doing the rope, but I just thought, because you were so relaxed, and the bed doesn't really have anything to attach the rope to, and I wanted you in the X, I thought I'd just use the restraints. It's much easier. And I was thinking, at what point do I put the butt plug in? And I did think, maybe even before the massage to do that, but then that would have brought in the sexual element too early. So that's why I held off. And we didn't do it at all again because of the issues you mentioned.
So once I was tied down to the bed, you continued to tease me with your lips and very light strokes across my skin, getting me very sensitized.
Because you'd mentioned that in the texting. That's why your dream. So that was kind of the inspiration for this. What you'd mentioned.
This was so much better than my dream.
Well,
it was so much better than my dream.
We've talked about this before, like communication. doesn't have to be verbal. Like often we will get ideas from each other via text, and you can take those elements, because if someone is mentioning a dream they had to you and they mention specific things, it's probably because they like those things, right? So incorporate them into what you're going to do. They're not mentioning them because, or they might say, oh, it was horrible. Fair enough. It's a nightmare. But most of the time, if someone's telling you in that context, it's because they like it. So that's what inspired this whole thing.
Yeah, especially like where the points of attention were. When I said my nipples and my thighs, your lips and your teeth, and then you brought those. You didn't, but
wipe my cock across your face. I did do that.
You did.
I did.
You did. You started dragging your.
Well, come on.
Yeah, at this point you had undressed yourself. So even as you were touching me, you started touching me with your cock, but like on my body as you were like hovering over me, so I could feel the pressure of it.
I can't remember. Was I kissing your clit at this point, or was
not yet? You still hadn't even touched my clit yet.
Yeah, I was deliberately avoiding.
Really held off on that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I did. So you were tied up. I think I did then.
And then you went down on me.
Yeah.
And my goodness, it felt amazing.
But so the kiss, I did the kisses again as I've been doing the massage, getting closer. But this time, so a technique that I've used before, and I can't remember where I learned it, but is I just, because I knew you were hypersensitive, rather than just immediately going in and licking, you just put your tongue flat on their clit and just hold it there. I think I held it there for like 10 seconds, because then you don't know what I'm going to do. It's unexpected, but also you're so sensitive already from having the build up.
It doesn't really matter.
It doesn't really matter. Yeah.
Yeah. It was wonderful. It was so good. And it was still very like light though. You weren't eating me out. You were you still kind of did this like trapezoid thing where every single layer would get closer and closer to like the.
Yeah, so what was interesting, so I always try and read your body language. So for example, I did a lot of your neck kissing, and
Loved
I could see which part of your neck is the most sensitive. And then when I was doing the kisses, weirdly, your inner thigh was less sensitive than the mons. What do you call it? Mons pubis. The mons. I call it the mons. You know, the bit where your pubic hair is. Bone. That was just above your clit. That was super sensitive on you.
Yeah.
Probably because again, I hadn't touched it at all.
And also, I had just depilated that morning, so actually, my skin was hypersensitive there to begin with all day, because I had actually kind of overdone it with the chemicals. Yeah. So.
Oh, that's why my tongue burns this morning.
Did it really?
No. Yeah, I can't remember what I did. So I went down on you, and then... So obviously at this point it's going to be more sexual, but the aim was to just tease you for as long as I could.
It was so slow. It was so... We've definitely not had... We've not had sex this slow and torturous ever. It was beautiful.
Yeah, and it wasn't really sex.
It was just wonderful. And I was feeling I was having such a grand time.
Yeah.
But actually, I was squirming away because I had got into our role play that we had kind of fallen into by habit. I was thinking, Daddy's not supposed to be touching me there. And I was trying to squirm away, like, no, don't touch me there. Of course, I want it in reality, but that's kind of why I was squirming away when you were by my mons. Is I'm like, no, oh no, I'm tied down and I can't squirm away. What am I to do?
Yes, yeah. So we did more dirty talk, maybe even before I went down on you. And then I know that you like one finger inside you while I'm going down on you, so I did that.
Also, I mean, this is graphic as it is. I was going to say TMI. There's you guys have heard so much about my body at this point, but it felt really, really nice, and this is feedback for you as well. Just like around right at the entrance of my vagina, it felt really good when you were going in and out. It's like right at the very entrance, and that was actually the most sensitive bit.
Oh, interesting.
So like my clit was sensitive, but the one finger, I think why it feels so nice is that it's like rubbing just enough so that I'm like getting the sensation at my vaginal opening, and I never touch myself there. It's too, like, you have to strain your wrists to try to do that. So I don't ever touch myself there. I always stick to the clit. So your fingers are the only ones that ever touch me there, and so it actually like heightens the sensation.
I was debating, do I go into the genital massage, but then I was like, well, then the oil gets everywhere and I want to go down on you, so I didn't do a genital massage. I just kind of went for the fingering, but very light initially.
At which point you tried to introduce the butt plug, and I had to, and then I had to kind of pull myself out of the scene and be like, wait, like,
yes,
no go.
So at this point, I didn't know. I knew you wanted to go to the loo earlier, but I didn't know it was because of IBS. So I didn't know. So you said no. I was a bit disappointed.
I know. I was
a bit disappointed. Because it was the whole fantasy thing.
It was the whole fantasy thing. I was disappointed too, believe me.
And I'd got the double-ended, not the double-ended dildo. So we've got this. We've hardly ever used it, but it's like a it's a dildo, but at the base it has a ring of rubber, so it goes around my cock. So it basically means it sits under my cock like a second.
It's
cock.
a cock ring.
It's a cock ring with a dildo.
Cock. Yeah.
So you can do double penetration.
Yes.
And there's only one of you.
Yeah.
And I was super excited to be using that, but
we can use it another time. Maybe exactly. Today.
Exactly. I can't remember what I did next.
After when I said, "Hey, anal's off the table," then we switched. You let me suck on your cock for a little bit as you were kind of reformulating your plans. I think in your head a little bit of what to do, and that was a delight as always.
I should also add at this point, like, you're thinking, oh, why this is a BDSM podcast? Why are you talking about this massages and oral? That's not kinky. But again, as I say in my book, Sensational Scenes. Plug. Go buy it. Go and buy it. It's great.
Good. It's very good.
It's not what you do, and it's how you do it. So it's the energy you bring to it. Again, this is my take. Like, people will disagree, but my take on DS is it's all about the energy that you bring to something, and you can make pretty much anything a DS dynamic by as I said, the energy you bring to it. So kissing someone or oral, very non-kinky activities. But if you're bringing a certain energy to it, like a teasing energy, again, people might even argue that teasing is not really DS or BDSM, but it's going into edging, which is it's bordering. It's a power play, right? I'm the one in charge of when you orgasm. So teasing, one person is being teased, and therefore, in my mind, they are the one with less control, and especially because you're tied up as well. So don't think of BDSM. Whenever I talk about BDSM, people think whips and chains and dungeons, and it really doesn't have to be like that. And we definitely practice more, I'd say, more traditional sex with these psychological elements of power play in them, rather than the BDSM of whips, chains, latex, leather, which I've got nothing against, but I think for the kind of people who listen to this podcast tend to be vanilla couples who want to experiment on that side of things. So this is why we're talking about this kind of stuff.
Also, it's just so much lower effort, and this has always been our issue. Like, even though we like BDSM elements, it's a lot of effort.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of planning. There are a lot of logistics involved. There's a lot of cleanup. You have to get the toys. You have to, oh my goodness, to actually do like big DS scenes, it's too much. And we're lazy. We don't
got time, yeah.
We don't have
tired
time.
after work.
We've got things to do. We've got projects that we're working on. When we have time, if we actually get to have sex that week, like, we're going to bring in the elements that are more psychological and are reading each other's body language to turn it into a DS scene, rather than depending on props or toys that you have to dig out of the toy chest. You have to make sure that the cat doesn't get in. And
so I had the things I had set up. I had two 10-meter lengths of rope. I had that double-ended dildo. I had the butt plug.
You had the
I had
harness.
charged up the Magic Wand vibrator. I had a collar. I had a thigh harness. I had cuffs.
And you had the
I
whole
had the
day to
underbed
prepare
restraints.
this.
I had, I think that was obviously the lube. I think so. That was, and I cleaned all the toys. So that's everything I had at my disposal, ready to. And the paddle. I had the paddle. I had the spanking bench. We didn't use any of it.
I didn't see any of it.
We didn't use any of it.
When it
because
stayed
you
off
didn't
to the
need
side,
to.
and we didn't need it at
Yeah.
all.
Doesn't mean it would have been bad if we had. But again, I'm just trying to say you don't need all this stuff. A lot of good sex and BDSM as well is about. Again, this is just my opinion, but so much of it is mental, and you can create amazing sensations. I would much rather use the psychological elements to give these amazing sensations, and you don't need a lot of equipment to do it.
And I want to stay in the moment. If I'm having a moment of connection with you, a nice intimate moment, I like when we're both in it, when we are actually both engaged, and when we play into more of the role play with toys and props side of BDSM, both or either of us disengage slightly to the actual act itself, because we're more focused on having to play the role.
Yeah, it feels, for me, it feels less authentic because I'm acting. But I think I'm not saying that's for all DOMs and subs. I'm just saying it's because for me, that's just not my style.
Yeah. And it's
for
not
some
wrong.
people it is.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't feel that pressure. Like that's what they love doing, and therefore when they're in that flow, that's what feels right to them. So if that's you, please don't think that I'm dissing that or anything like that.
It can be ultra sexy. It can be super hot, very exciting.
But for me, it's that extra mental effort of, if I'm doing flogging, I have to make sure I get it right, and I have to make sure I don't hurt you, and I've got to think about the cleanup, and so that does play on my mind a little bit. But then again, that's because I'm not super into impact play.
We're much more, both of us are much more relaxed and casual about our ideas of BDSM. We're more interested in the psychological element. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So back to the scene.
And at this point, we haven't even had sex yet.
No, we hadn't had sex.
No penetration.
It was a lot more oral. We did 69ing with me on top. Because I like rubbing my cock on your face.
I love you rubbing your cock on my face.
Yeah.
You had
a blindfold. I'd put the blindfold on when I restrained you.
No, I mean, I was keeping my eyes closed regardless.
Yes.
And at some point after the 69, you did take off the blindfold, and my
eyes
eyes
in the
stayed
way of rubbing my cock on you, because it
yeah.
kind of hits it.
But then I kept my eyes closed as it is, because it was part of the...
Well.
You did. And it's part of the sensation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that went on for another 20 minutes.
I don't know. I don't know what time was in this whole grand evening of the most beautiful sensations. I have no idea how long it took. I mean, it was the whole evening.
Yeah, maybe the whole thing was about 2 hours. I think something like that.
Just over 2 hours.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
To be
well, my aim again, I was wanting to try and give you multiple orgasms, but I know that's difficult for yourself, and I was also wanting to edge you as well.
Yeah.
So we did edge you, because I did a combination of oral, and we did have sex as well. But I would stop just before you came, and I think we probably did about 6 of those, like 6 up to the point of orgasm, but just backing off.
If I were to think about the whole time structure, we started at 7:30 until 9:45. And an hour of that, a good hour, was a pure massage. 30 minutes of that was teasing and playing quite externally, and oral right towards the end. The last 30 minutes was including penetration and more teasing. So like of that whole
and just
time,
very basic missionary, and also with your legs up.
Oh, it was a good position.
Yeah,
because it was
you can get very deep like that.
You can get deep, but also you were rubbing your hip bone kept on rubbing against my clit.
Well, that was missionary. Yes,
That was so good.
So yes, for the guys out there, I mean, this is I'm sure probably teaching you stuff you already know, but if you can get into missionary position and then hook one leg, so you've got one leg kind of half over your shoulder, and then push in as far as you can to try and get it so that you're, again, mons. I think that's the word.
Your pubic bone.
Yeah, your pubic bone is rubbing on their clit.
Yeah.
So it's not actually the cock going in and out that is the enjoyable bit. It's so you're like all the way in, but you're just moving in up and down, like keeping contact with their clit.
And the female,
about an inch.
I am doing my best to raise my pelvis as high as possible because that's a good sensation, and I'm seeking it out. I will say the only downside to that position, and it is the default position that we go to all the time when you have sex. You always hook my leg, like it's a very standard.
Normally you're face down.
I know, but when we are in missionary, you usually hook my leg.
Yes.
The downfall to that is after time, it does really ache the hip.
Yes.
And I will always be very, very sore the next day. So keep that in mind if you have any mobility issues or if you have any joint issues, because it's a lot of strain on the hip.
But it does allow you to
stretches
get deeper.
out the hip.
Definitely allows deeper.
Yeah. So, because at one point I did have to tell you my hip was aching and we needed to stop.
Yes.
Because you started to go a little bit more rough, but it still didn't get. We didn't really end up doing any rough sex at all. It was just really intense. Really intense. And I was really trying to hold off the orgasm as much as possible, but I was so sensitive that you would touch me for like 5 seconds and I'd have to say stop. If you don't want me to come, then you need to stop now. At one point you were just still in me with your cock and I told you to stop, and I had like a mini orgasm there. Like I had a what's it called, like a suspended
mini orgasm.
No, when a failed orgasm. And I got frustrated in that moment. I was like, no. And you were playing up the daddy figure there too. But I could feel that I was clenching it around you and I had no control over that. But I was trying to hold myself super, super still. And then, so when it actually got point 2 of me, when I wanted to have an orgasm, then it took me that much longer because I had already had a mini orgasm.
Yeah, I was at that point. Because the thing with edging, I always worry about is, especially
if you edge too far.
Well, no, more. Some women, a lot of women find it difficult to orgasm from penetration and from sex in general. So the whole setting the scene and making sure someone's warm and comfortable will help them orgasm as a whole. But the build-up is super important, and I wanted you to orgasm from not clit stimulation, but from me inside you, which is why we've done all that build-up. Because we'd done all that build-up, it was then you were then going to be able to orgasm from penetration alone.
And it was possible. I essentially did. And had you and the thing is, it was a failed orgasm because you stopped moving.
Yes.
But it was definitely from the penetration.
But and I've remembered my point. The downside of edging is that you can go too far. And what can happen, what I was worried about was I stopped when you could have orgasmed from penetration, which would have been a win.
Yes.
And then I was then going to build you up a second time, but I was worried you wouldn't get there, and that's happened in the past.
Yeah,
so it's like, what is the goal? If my goal is to not train you is the wrong word, but make you, and this is the wrong language. I'm not trying to make you do anything, but if I want you to be able, yes, I was trying to get you comfortable with knowing in your head that you're able to come from penetration
and to
alone.
Teach me with muscle memory that this is something that is possible and that I can do.
But if someone's never come from penetration, doing edging with penetration probably isn't the best approach, because there's a chance that you will miss the window and they'll become oversensitized, and then that reinforces the fact that they can't do it.
Yes.
So that is the danger. And also, by that point, I was tired. Like my hamstrings from thrusting, guys, you'll know that it really takes a toll on the hamstrings, especially if you're not just doing the in and out, which is very easy. It's more the grinding and holding yourself in a certain position that can be quite tiring. And so,
and you were getting close.
I was all right, but the last 20 seconds, I was like, "Oh God, please come! Have I gone too far?" Because no, please you come, because I was like, I literally can't keep this up for much more.
Yeah.
And because I was getting super super tired, and it was so hot, so I was like, "Oh God, please come!" And I don't think you did. I think we
didn't, but it's because
we had to go back to the manual.
Yeah, we did, but I kind of did, and I would have been able to.
Yeah,
I was thinking in my head. I had a moment where I was like, wow, I'm going to come just by him penetrating me.
But that's the thing. So I kind of botched it because I edged you too far.
But it's not that you edged me too far. It's actually, it goes back to our dirty talk, because we had been playing that I couldn't come without daddy's permission. And this whole time I had been telling you, stop. You hadn't given me permission. And when in that mindset, and so I'm saying, no, you don't want me to come.
Yeah.
And so I was telling you, wait, hold on. And actually at that moment,
the last bit,
if we would have kept on going.
I did give you permission at the end, but then
after I had already done the fluttering, after I had already done the.
But on the last set of penetration,
yeah.
I wanted you to come. And you said you were going to, but you couldn't, because I think you'd edged you too far.
It was past the point where I had already had a mini orgasm when you were inside me, and when you said I can feel you clenching me. Yeah, you could feel me clenching me because I had a mini orgasm right then. Yeah. But that mini orgasm, because you hadn't kept on going in that moment. Anyway, if you think about
we then went
now,
back to
so anatomically, but it was a good moment. It did help me. It reminded my body that I can have an orgasm when you're penetrating me if I'm really relaxed, and if you've teased me, and if I've had this beautiful evening, then guess what? I can have a wonderful, beautiful orgasm. And it was such an incredible evening. It was so nice, and I was putty. I had melted completely. And then I had another orgasm. You orgasmed. We were both shaking and super, super sweaty. And then we had a nice little cleanup. Very little aftercare, because aftercare
wasn't that intense.
It wasn't needed, because this whole experience had been care.
Yeah.
The whole evening you had been caring for me. It was a beautiful sensual massage, so I didn't need too much cuddling or comfort afterwards, because guess what? We had been doing it this whole time. Had it been a spanking session, we would have spent a lot more time. I would have been like, no, stay in bed, I need to cuddle you more. But we rested for a little bit, then we went downstairs and watched some TV.
Yeah, and I think the moral of the story is, as a dom, it's your. Well, in any relationship, it's important that you understand the psychology of the sex that you're interacting with. So for any sex, if there are distractions in the room, or you're worried about work, or you're thinking about something else, or it's too cold, or you're worried about, IBS, it's going to be, you're not going to experience the pleasure. So as a dom, I kind of see part of my role is what can I do to alleviate any of those concerns? And getting someone super relaxed is it's not, I wouldn't say it's the fastest way to get someone to come, but it will result in them orgasming more often than not. Again, orgasm isn't necessarily the goal, but you know what I mean. They'll be able to experience their body fully because they get into their body. But this isn't. These aren't BDSM practices so much, but for anyone listening to this, being able to do that and to help your partner, even if you're not into a DS relationship, being able to help your partner relax just results in so much better sex. It just, you've got to be super, super comfortable. So again, if we layer on the DS element, if you're a dom and you're able to give the gift to your partner of taking the pressure off them by you being in charge, you telling them what to do, by your actions helping them to create an environment where they can relax, you're going to have much more success in the future. Then you can add on the techniques, then you can add the spanking and stuff. And again, I'm saying I'm not saying my way is the only way to do it. And there are times when we just go straight into spanking and it feels great. So it's really important that as a couple, you have you have all of these tools in your arsenal. You know how to do the psychological. You know how to do soft massage. You know how to do spanking. You know how to do it rough. Like, figure out what the person is into and be able to layer on these different elements. And I call it intent switching up the different styles of dominance you want to do. Don't just be the person who's like, yeah, I'm always going to just spank them for 5 minutes and that's it. And again, I hesitate to say that, because if that's all you do and you and your partner love it, it's absolutely fine. It's absolutely fine. Yeah. But we're definitely coming at this more as we're talking to kind of regular couples who want to release the shame and guilt about sex and bring in some elements of this DS. These are the kind of skills that I recommend you should try, because then you'll find something that works for you.
Yeah. And it resulted in a beautiful, wonderful evening. It was great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So well done. Well done.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for all the massages you give me, because I definitely come a lot easier when you give me all. It's the same with when I get blowjobs. I find it very difficult to come for blowjobs. But if you've just given me a massage,
sometimes it surprises even you.
It's like, oh, I've come in like 30 seconds.
Yeah, but without any warning, and then all of a sudden, like, whoa! Like I've been surprised by your orgasms before after a massage, because like it literally comes without warning. Then like, whoa! And then
it's being you're so relaxed, and I'm not worried. I'm not in my head thinking, oh, I'm not going to come, or
so it just releases.
Yes.
Yeah, it's wonderful. It's great. It was, and thank you. It was a beautiful evening. It was a wonderful way to end the week. And what's funny is at the end, right at the end, after we had finished, in that little like post orgasm clarity that you have.
Post nut clarity.
Yes. Yeah, I know. But I did think, I was like, haha, way to Uno reverse me, Chief, because like all throughout this whole thing, like the whole morning, I was thinking, I'm going to get a super intense punishment, I've touched myself without permission and I've teased him and blah blah blah, and here I am having like the most blissful orgasm I've ever experienced. And so like way too in the
always got to keep them guessing.
I know, that's the thing, like even in something that was really, really wonderful, you still managed to have the upper hand and to show your dominance by making that wonderful experience be something that completely like blindsided me, because I wasn't expecting it at all.
Yes,
so,
I knew you wouldn't be expecting
way
that,
to go.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Chalk one to Chief.
All right, so there we go. I hope you've enjoyed that. It was a bit self-indulgent. I don't know if it was self-indulgent, but hopefully
the whole evening was self-indulgent.
On this podcast, if this is the first time listening, like we don't want to just talk about generic BDSM. We want to talk about our experiences in the hope that you can take what you find useful, and you then what it looks like in a real life couple who aren't just putting it on for show.
Yeah, hopefully you relate to it in some way.
Yeah,
that's our goal.
Exactly. So thanks for listening. If you are interested in our kind of style of DS, then go to kinkyevents.co.uk. I have a book for dominance, I have a course for submissives, and I have a shibari course, which is rope bondage for people as well. And we just launched a bundle, so you can buy the 2 courses. These are digital online courses. You get lifetime access for a single fee, a bundle, and you can buy both the Art of Submission and Sinful Shibari as one package for a big discount. So, and you get the free book with it as well. So yeah, go check it out. And there's if you don't have the money or you don't want to pay, that's absolutely fine. There's loads of free articles on there as well. And I think this is like we're into the 40s now of the podcast, so do subscribe on Spotify and have a listen to the other podcasts. And as always, we'd love it if you could share. If you've liked this episode, please do share it on somewhere like Reddit or anywhere. Because,
I love to. Every time I see a comment on Reddit that's mentioning the podcast, I'm always like, look, there's
it makes us want to record more.
It does indeed.
Yeah. So there we go. So until next time.
Lots of love and spanks, everyone.
Lots and love and
Thank you, Chief.
Bye.
Bye.
You're listening to Chief from kinkyevents.co.uk, helping you create the dom-sub dynamic you've always fantasized about.